Hey everybody, this is Renae from The Space Between, and you are listening to The Space Between podcast, the show that lets you listen to how the fans feel about the music, the art behind over 30 years of the Dave Matthews Band. Stay tuned. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Space Between podcast. My name is Renae, and for the past 13 months, I have had the absolute pleasure, and honestly, such a big surprise, but such a pleasure to tell a portion of the stories of the fans of the Dave Matthews Band. And that's such an amazing story that I don't know that I've heard from anyone else. Like, let's talk about the fans, because, you know, of course I found this band, the Dave Matthews Band, in college and slightly before that, really. But, you know, this band has been part of my life and been part of your life, for almost 33 years now. And honestly, I just can't remember a time without them. And so my fan story has been one of length, right? I've been actively chasing this band like a crazy person, or maybe you know what? I like to say that I'm a sane person with really great taste in music. I mean, that is how I would sum me up really quickly. But you know, everyone has a different fan story, and that occurred to me as I was going through the pandemic. What a time that was, you know, all over the world, in every small city, in every large city, in I want to say every country of the world. I don't know if that's accurate, but in most of the world, we were dealt with something completely unexpected, something that we could have never guessed. Yes, we had dreamed about plagues and things that had happened in the past and how horrible, but we thought, or at least I thought, you know, with the advance in medicine, with the technology we have, the abilities, surely there would never be a plague or a pandemic. Not that was on the top of my brain like ever, but I think if I would have thought about it, I would have been like, you know, probably not. And then bam, what happened? We all literally got slapped in the face with a pandemic. It was literally something that most of us had never seen before, and hopefully will never see again. As a nurse, that chapter in my life is a dark one. There's so many beautiful parts of it, right? Being a nurse and being able to compassionately help others that I genuinely wanted to be there for, because that's my calling. I love to love on others. I have the skills now to take care of people, and I'm educated to do so. Not that makes me perfect or anything, but I am skilled in taking care of people. I went to school to learn how to take care of people. I remember so many things about the pandemic, you know, my children being at home from school and me trying to figure out how to work and be a teacher. Because in the beginning, if you will remember, of the pandemic, it was a lot of like heavily weighed out on parents, you know. The parents were going to have to do most of the education, a lot of the education. I mean, I guess I can really only speak for myself and what my story is, and that's what I'm saying. I know that everyone else's story is different, and depending on where you live, there may have been and probably were lots of resources. But for me, in small town America, in the state of Arkansas, there were no immediate resources when our children were sent home, and so we had to play teacher, and I am not a teacher. You know, I am just not a teacher. And so you know, again, you know, there were a lot of negatives and things I remember but about the pandemic, but what stands out to me the most was, yes, I got to love on people. being a nurse and help so many people. But to do that on a daily basis, like to take care of people that you know have COVID, have tested positive, you're in 27 pounds of PPE, personal protective equipment. That worked, it did. I didn't catch COVID, and I'm so thankful. But that did not dismiss the fear that I had every single day, because I thought, what if I bring this home to my children? What if I bring this home to my husband? What if? Because again, my job depends on, or my career, my nursing depends on people showing up to take care of people, and putting ourselves in harm's way in order to do so at times, right? Not every time, but there are times where you do put yourself in harm's way, and you can do all of the things. You can wear all of the PPE, but that doesn't dismiss the fact that you were in the room, and at a time where the pandemic was so new and information was changing daily, if not hourly, on the news. There was a lot of fear behind that, and so it was a dark time in my life. And after going through that, and things just seemed to pile on top of that, and I needed a creative outlet because I needed a distraction from some things that were happening and unavoidable, but I needed a distraction. And so for whatever reason, I give myself a survey, like a nerd, like, okay, what makes you happy? Like, what makes you smile? Like, what would you do if you could do anything? And my answers always came back to the Dave Matthews Band and the atmosphere at a Dave Matthews Band concert. And that just kind of started this train of thought of, oh my God, like, that's my happy place. Those are my happy people. Like, I've never had a negative experience to this date with any of these people. And all of these people have such incredible stories of, not only how they found the band, but like things that have happened because of the community around the Dave Matthews Band. That story is so fascinating to me because it changed my life. Because the Dave Matthews Band changed my life. I'll say it. People don't want to say shit like that. But there are parts of my life that was saved by music. But what came with that music was like such a big part of that saving. It came with a whole community of people that if I allowed, and I put myself approachable, and if I put myself out there, they did nothing but build me up. And it was so...
Hello, everybody. This is Dave Rich from the Eddie Casino Band out in Las Vegas. We're really excited to get this journey going, celebrating our music, our original music, on all platforms. We just released our first single over Labor Day weekend called Eddie Casino. If you're looking for new music, look out for our next single coming out to Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, Apple Music. These guys in the band are really excited to get started playing music for you all. If you like Tom Petty, Zach Brown, Jason Mraz, Dave Matthews Band, Rob Thomas, Jimmy Buffett, Pink Floyd, Stapleton, Bare Naked Ladies, Goose, Billy Strings, Sting and the Police, a ton of influences that we bring to the table. Hope you enjoy our music and look forward to seeing you soon live on stage.
It was so like something I had never seen, because even though I live in small town America, not everybody is, awesome. There's a lot of ugly in the world. There's a lot of mean people in the world. And I don't care what your background is. Like, I think at some point we've all experienced just people being mean to you, right? And I mean, that comes with life. Those are things we have to learn to be okay with, and that other people's opinions don't matter, and that, Those are things we learn. Those are not things we know when we're born. We have to kind of go through it and learn that process. But this community of people around the Dave Matthews Band just astounded me. And so as I was thinking of this creative outlet and thinking, okay, the Dave Matthews Band makes me happy, but I want to talk about the people that came with it, because I had not heard of anyone else doing it. Not that that meant it wasn't happening. It still may be happening. And if there's another podcast out there that's talking about the fans of the Dave Matthews Band every week, I want to know them. We need to be besties. Like, call me, email me, I want all of the information. But up until this moment, and unless someone comes forward, I don't think there's another show exclusively about the fan experience behind the Dave Matthews Band. And so, I'm like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to start a podcast. And that wasn't like something I just necessarily came up with. My good friend Leah, who has been on the show several times back when I first started it, her friend and her were doing a pop culture podcast. They had just started it. They kind of had already gotten through the beginning phases, so they knew how to start it, right? It was like somebody that was in my face daily saying, I started a podcast. And that just kind of started my wheels turning, like, oh, that's a cool thing now. Like, people really are listening to that. People are listening to podcasts. And I was like, okay, well, I don't know if anybody wants to listen to what I have to say or listen to my voice in general. I know I have an accent. I've literally just learned that like in the last couple of years. Like, I didn't think I had an accent. And apparently I sound like I'm from Arkansas, but I'm really from Texas. So do I sound like I'm from Texas? Probably so. But anyways, why would anyone want to listen to this girl that lives in Arkansas talk about the Dave Matthews Band? The fans of the Dave Matthews Band. But I did it, it was just kind of a leap. I was like, hey, this will be fun. I love to learn, like, in general. And so it was fun to figure out, like, how to do it. Like, how does this work? And like, how do you get picked up on Apple? And how do you get picked up on Spotify? And like, how does it all work? Like, the process of learning this was so much fun for me. And again, it was the distraction I needed. It gave me like a job that was fun, a topic that I loved. Like, it was just like the perfect combination. So I start this podcast. And I mean, if you haven't listened to the first one, well, right before the first one, there's like I guess it was basically like a test run. I can't remember what I called it, but it was like a test, like, okay, let me see if I can record something on my phone and send it out to all of these things like Spotify, blah, 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 blah. Let's see if I can do that. Let's just start with this. Let's see what happens. Well, it worked. And so then I was like, okay, well, I cannot be the only one telling the story of the fans of the Dave Matthews Band. Like, that's not the story if I'm telling it. I want people to come on my show every week and tell me their thoughts and feelings, their concerns, their journey, their everything. What led them up to finding the Dave Matthews Band? How did they find it? What did they think about it when they first found them? Because not everybody loved them right when they found them and then came around and ended up loving them. I mean, there's all kinds of stories, but like, that was my goal, was to have people on to share their story, their journey with the Dave Matthews Band. And so, the podcast kind of started out slow. And again, if you've listened to, I can't even believe this, but this episode that you're listening to right now is number 72. What is happening, guys? But I'm going to tell you, I'm going to get to that in the story. Like, why has this lasted? I'm going to tell you, but you got to keep listening. Okay, so it started out slow. The podcast was slow. Episode 1, episode 2, I was just, again, figuring it out. The sound wasn't always perfect. The editing wasn't always perfect. At that time, I was doing my own editing. I was literally doing everything. Everything. And at that time, I had quit nursing because, again, I was in a bad spot. I needed a distraction. I stayed home, kind of tinkered around with a few things online, like to make money because I have to have a job. And I started a podcast. Okay, so I really had some time to invest in the beginning. But also, I was learning, and I didn't get it right. And, like, probably the whole first season of my show, excluding, like, some some of them which are amazing just because so many amazing people. But season 1 was not my best season, not my best work. But again, I was figuring it out, trying to figure it out, right? Just trying to figure out what the hell am I doing. And so as time went on, and of course, how do you get people to be on a show that they've never heard of, and from a girl that they've never heard of in the middle of nowhere land? Because to my knowledge, there's not just a whole lot of Dave Matthews Band fans in Arkansas. I don't like to believe that, but all I have and all I have to measure that, the only tool I have is like Facebook or Instagram. Like, there's not a lot of people coming out saying, hey, I'm from Arkansas. I know there's some amazing ones. I've met you. Like, we have our own Facebook group, the DMB Arkansas group. And so anyways, who is going to listen to me, and how am I going to get people to listen to me? How am I going to find these people? So luckily I was the admin of another Facebook group that was Dave Matthews Band related. But what we were doing at that time was Dave Matthews Band trivia. We were getting together during the pandemic just to get together because the tour was canceled, right? Like, we didn't get to see each other, and we still wanted to, and we still wanted to talk about Dave. And most households, there's not more than 1 or 2 Dave fans. So we just wanted to get together. So we were doing Dave Matthews Band trivia. We did a whole lot of things. And so I had a bit of a platform. Now, there was not many people part of this group. It was a very small group. And so, I just do what I do. I just start inviting people, start talking about it, start posting in other groups. Honestly, it's been a lot of work, and I still don't feel like, there's so much more room to grow. But that's anything, right? Like, anything that's worth your time is worth investing into. Like, that's the way I feel. And my time is an investment. It's something that I love. It's something I'm passionate about. And I have said from the very beginning, and I still to this day believe it, but like, if no one ever listens to my podcast, I'm okay with that, because doing this podcast took me from such a place of such a different place than I am now. And I'm so happy, and I'm so thankful, and I'm so damn lucky, right? Like, I know that song is not necessarily about a good thing, but we use that phrase all the time, right? Like, I have been able, through this platform, through this podcast, to be able to meet people that I would have never met, even though, we are going to the shows. It's just been an elevated fan experience for me, to hear other people's voyage, and to understand that I'm not the only person that feels this way about this band, and I'm not the only person that this music has changed my life. I am not the only person who will probably not know what to do once it's all over. And I don't even like to think about that. But like, what are we all going to do? What are we going to do? But here's what I know. We will always have the music, right? Like, we'll always have it. Thank God for recordings. Thank God we live in a time where there are things like YouTube and TikTok, where people have been documenting this band from its conception, and I think, and I believe, and I trust in this process that it also needs to be documented, the fans around this band, because this story, this fanhood, this family is worth being documented. I want people in the future to know that there was a group, at least 35,000 of us, right? At least 35,000 of us that all came together because of a band. But our scope was more than music. Our hook to the band was more than just the music. It was what the band represented. It was what the band stood for. At times, obviously, we all have different beliefs and all of the things. But for the most part, the fans of the Dave Matthews Band believed in what the band was preaching. Not to say they're perfect. They are not. But they're I can think of, Fish fans, Grateful Dead. I mean, the Grateful Dead fans will always be part of music history. It's hard to talk about one without the other. And I think that the story of the Dave Matthews Band would not be complete without the story of the fans of the Dave Matthews Band. I believe that. And that is what this podcast is about. I'm on a mission to document the story of the fans of this band. We all found the music, and we all bring something different to the table, but we all do it the same, right? I can't tell you how many guests have been on the show that have told, and by the way, I do know that number only because I counted it up at some point. I've had almost 60 different guests on this show telling me about their fan story. Guys, I have been able to share with you guys stories of grief, some of the hardest stories, some of the hardest loss, and what helped them. What helped them? A big portion of that was the community that came along with the music.
What's up, everybody? This is David with the Dave Matthews Tribute Band. We're a nationally touring tribute to DMB, playing shows all over the country and beyond. Our goal is to bring you back to the classic sound that you fell in love with in the 90s and the 2000s, featuring a violin, saxophone, and maybe some keyboards sprinkled in as well. You can find out information about all of our tours and shows by visiting thedmtb.com. You can also check us out on Facebook and Instagram and other socials by searching the Dave Matthews Tribute Band or the DMTB. Hope to see you on the road and enjoy the Space Between podcast.
Got them through. That's what they're saying, not what I'm saying. They are on this show sharing their words, their story, their pictures, their documented story. Not only stories of grief, stories of, life beginning, a new chapter in people's beginning, new parents, new engaged couples, newly married couples, people that have put their health first, because at some age we do have to be very aware of our health, and not put your health first, but you know what I mean. Making your health a priority is what I want to say. And they were able to do it like never before, because so many of us have been on that yo-yo thing, right? Like trying to die. How did it get easier? Well, I had a fan come on the show and tell me what works for her and what's working for over 5,000 fans. And guys, stay tuned, because that story is coming up, because we're going to need some motivation. We're all like, okay, what is my New Year's resolution? What do I want to do? You know what, though? Why do you wait for the new year? Why? Every single day, I strive to be like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I am chasing my dreams. What do I need to do to change that? Like, I feel like we should all aspire to maybe be our greatest throughout the year, not just one time a year. Like, I challenge you, and I hope that I sound crazy, because everybody's already doing that. But that's something that saved me, was it's okay to invest in yourself, guys. We got to. This is a hard world. And it is full of pain and full of hate and but you know what? This world is also full of love. I want the Space Between podcasts to be a story of love. because there's so much negativity. You turn on the news in the morning, which is one of the first things I do. I don't know. I'm like an old lady that's like, I got to turn it on to the Today Show every morning. And I don't even know why, because I don't watch it. It's just on in the background. But like what we hear, for the most part, I feel like is so much pain and suffering. And while that's going to be a forever thing because we don't live in a perfect world, I want to strive to be giving you guys a positive story at least once a week. I want to give you a story of love. I want to give you a story of hope. I want to give you a story that inspires you. That's what I need in my life. That's definitely what I need in my life. I need all of those things. I need love. I need more love. And if you've been listening to my podcasts, you would know that More Love, it was actually a title of one of my podcasts that was done with Jason Dombrowt. Love him. And I want to give him a shout out for being such an amazing guest. He was on my Christmas episode that just came out last week. Y'all, I hope that not a lot of first-time people listen to that episode because it was a little out there. But also, it's Christmas, right? Like, I had to do something different, and we did. I shook the tambourine, like, probably completely off. And I tried to sing, which I know my strengths and weaknesses, and I do know that singing is one of my weaknesses. But also, I love to sing. So it's kind of like, do I hold back from doing something that I love just because it sounds awful? Well, the answer is yes. Most of the time I do. But for my Christmas episode on my podcast, I was like, you know what? I want to sing. And it was awful. And it was awful. And so please forgive me for that. But also it was fun, right? Like I wanted to like be fun. So guys, again, thank you so much for listening to this. If you've listened to the very end of this, I applaud you. I hope that this wasn't a complete ramble, because I do tend to do that. And again, if you've listened to some of my podcasts, you're like, okay, when's she going to wrap this one up? Because she's dissected it. And hey, speaking of dissecting things, we did a couple of song dissections on the podcast. There were several. I want to say we did Sleep to Dream Her, which was a very hard song to dissect. I don't know if we did a good job, but we did it. And that was probably season 1, so everything was new. But I had all Dave Matthews Band fans. I think it was 6 women try to dissect Sleep to Dreamer. It was tough. It was really tough. And guys, if you've ever listened to any of my episodes and you're like, I would love to tell her this, XYZ, whatever it is, email me. I would love some show feedback. I would love to learn. So my email is it's simple. My last name is Lipsmeyer. And so my email is kissonthelippsmeyer@gmail.com. Now, that is easy to remember because, right, kissonthelippsmeyer@gmail.com. I didn't make that up for this podcast. Actually, when I got married to my amazing husband, who I do want to give a shout out to, he has been my biggest supporter of doing this. He has held my hand and loved on me through all of this. And honestly, he deserves way better. I will say that out loud. He deserves way better than what I am. And so, Justin, I love you and thank you for supporting this show. Yeah, thank you so much. I don't even know where I was going with that. I completely got sidetracked when I started talking about my husband. I was like, ooh. But yeah, we dissected songs. So yeah, we're going back to that. We dissected some songs. I'm trying to think. Okay, here's one of my favorite. Guys, this may not be like, I'll say it. It's not one of my best shows. But for me, it was one of my most memorable and to me, one of the funniest. If you are okay with crude humor, which, again, if you're listening to this, my guess is that you're okay with it. If you're okay with the word fuck, I like to say it. It's a word I think is very flexible. I think you can say it when you're happy or sad, you're pissed off, whatever you want. Wrap it up in a fuck and it's good to go. So I dissected this song with one of my amazing friends, Karen DeSano, and I want to give her a shout out. And Karen, if you hear this, I want you to text me right now to prove to me that you listen to my podcast. Y'all, I swear to God, none of my friends listen to my podcast. It's like, what the fuck? They've been on it. They've been on the show, but they don't ever listen to it. I'm like, guys, this works because people have to listen to it, right? But again, I said earlier, if no one listens to it, I'm still happy. And that is true. But I do want to talk just slightly. Oh, let me tell you the name of that podcast with Karen. Oh, shit. I want to say, oh my God. Little Death Delight, I believe is the name of that episode. I think it's season 1, maybe the beginning of season 2. I'm not for sure where it cut off, but Little Death Delight is what it's called. And it is about a Dave Matthews Band song that is so much about sex. And so we broke it down. We talked about the orgasm. So yeah, we've talked about everything on this show. I like being open. I'm a nurse. I'm comfortable with the human anatomy. I'm okay. I'm also a grown ass adult. I understand that sex happens, and you know what? I fucking like to have sex. I'll say it. What's the matter with saying that? Nothing. But I say these things on my podcast. Okay, so that's that. You can listen to that. Sleep to Dream Her is one we dissected, and then again, Little Death Delight. That was another song we dissected. So I enjoy doing that. I think it's so much fun to see what other people think a song means. Now, you'll have to remember, music is an art form. And so I think that art can be up for interpretation. And I enjoy listening to other people's interpretations of songs. And I believe that's part of the fan experience. And that's why we do it. I never want to be constantly focused on statistics of the Dave Matthews Band. While I enjoy that, and if you love it, guys, let me just interrupt. I'm all over the place. I don't have a script for this one. I don't have a guest, and so I'm just going on. Hopefully this is not a complete ramble. But speaking of Dave Matthews Band statistics, if you love them, which I fucking do, I don't talk about them on this podcast because that's not the fan experience. It can be, and here's how. Here's how it can be part of the fan experience. Do we not all use, most of us, I won't say all, do we not all really love the apps and the websites that are available to us as fans to see, have I ever heard this before? When was the last time that was played? I love that shit. And I will be the first to admit I'm at a concert pulling up whatever to be like, oh shit, when was the last time this was played? I love it. I love it. I love to count how long Seek Up intro is. I'm that girl. I have recorded it many times on my phone so that I could have an exact measurement of time of how long the intro to Seek Up was, or the beginning part of Seek Up before he started singing. I have those facts if you're interested. But if you're interested in all that, like me, the fan experience of that, or the fan story behind that, is who the hell is running these? Well, I was able to, when I went to Charlottesville this year, I was able to meet up with Rob, and he is the creator of the DMB Almanac. I was able to sit with him for a little bit in Charlottesville and just kind of ask him all of those nerdy questions about, like, I need to know every single thing about how this works, who started it, who the hell is paying for it, like, what is happening? Because it's such an interesting fan story. It was created by fans for fans. I fucking love the story. And if you want to hear the story about the DMB Almanac, stay tuned. It's coming in 2024, guys. I've got some good things on the horizon. And so one may ask after listening all to this, well, like, how do you find your people, Renae? How do you find your people? Well, I'll tell you what it's not. It's not door-to-door saleswomanship, because, again, I don't even know a single other Dave Matthews Band fan in my neighborhood. And I live in a big neighborhood. There's like 300 houses in my subdivision. I don't know a single one. Nobody's got license plates or stickers on their cars. Not that that's what makes up a fan, but I haven't visually found any. Are there some in my town? Yes. In my area? Yes, I know, because I've met them. But I couldn't do door-to-door sales to find people, is what I'm saying. That was really a bad analogy, but welcome to the Space Between podcast. So, again, just putting it out on Facebook. Would anybody like to share their journey? And people have been so good about being, yes, I have a group of ambassadors. You've heard of Instagram ambassadors that share stuff, brands share brands and they get a kickback. Well, guys, this is new. The Space Between podcast now has a team of ambassadors. What is happening now? They are not getting paid. However, I love them so much that they get like, they're getting, I'm getting it made right now. They're getting free Space Between Podcast swag. They help me market the show, if you will, right? Because if we want it to grow, and if we want, with growth, we find new people to share their journey, right? Like without growth, I'm not going to find more fans. And without fans, this podcast doesn't exist. And the one thing I do want this is to exist, right? So I've got to have people emailing me, Facebook messaging me, Instagram messaging me, whatever. Like we're on TikTok now, guys. It's the Space Between Podcast on TikTok. And if you heard my singing on the Christmas episode, now just put dancing with that, guys. It's a freak show, but I love it. I like to make people laugh. It is something that has just come along with me. Like it's usually it's at my own expense, and I'm okay with that because I understand also that I'm a complete weirdo. Like I am a complete nerd. I like to smoke weed. What are some more things about me? I'm a nurse. You already know that. I have my medicinal license in case my employer is listening. It's prescribed for anxiety and depression. I'm okay with saying that. Changed my life. Changed my life. Guys, changed my life. I love weed. I love talking about weed. I love educating people about weed. Oh my gosh, that would be a dream job. Yes. Hey, putting it out to the universe, it might happen, right? I got 4 kids. I got 3 dogs. I work constantly, but I like staying busy because when I'm not busy is when my voice is very loud in my head, and I don't like that because I'm not nice to myself. I don't know if you guys are nice to yourself. I'm not. I'm trying to teach myself self-love. I'm not good at it. But yeah, that's some things about me. I like makeup and glasses. I have a lot of pairs of glasses. I like them. They're all prescription, but I love them. And guys, yeah. So if you want to share your journey with the Space Between podcast, and you want to tell your fan journey, like how in the world did you find this band? What's happened because of this band? And you don't even have to be part of the community, if you will. If you've never heard of the community of the fans of the Dave Matthews Band, that's okay. Cool. You don't even have to know about that. You can just message me, email me, and say, hey, you know what? I got a cool story about the Dave Matthews Band. Here's how it changed my life. And you know what I mean by change my life. Like, here's what happened after I heard about them. I'm up for some negativity. Like, I say, hold on, let me back up a little bit. Like, I'm not down for negativity, but like, I always say, I understand that not every fan story is a positive story. And I'm open to hearing about negative stories that may have happened within the Dave Matthews Band as a fan. I don't know if I'm the right platform for that because I am trying to like paint a positive, and like I said earlier, I want to be that positive message every week that you can count on. That's what I want. But guys, yeah, email me, message me. I'd love to be the platform to share your story with the other fans of the Dave Matthews Band. And guys, that's it. I just wanted to close out the year with kind of like me saying thank you to every single person that is currently listening to this episode right now. Guys, I could have never dreamed this. I could have never thought this up in a million years. And so thank you for taking my life into something that has been such a positive, wonderful thing for me. Thank you for pouring in to this community of amazing fans. Thank you for supporting this band who's changed so many people's lives. Guys, we're almost at 33 years. I mean, what a time to be alive. I will constantly say that. What a time to be alive. I'm so grateful to be alive right now. I'm so grateful for the things I have. But guys, I am so grateful for the Dave Matthews Band and the fans of the Dave Matthews Band. And so that is the Space Between, guys. That's what I am. That's what I'm doing. That's who we are, who I am. I'll give a shout out though. It's not just me anymore. I am the host. I'm the creator. I do all the graphics. I do all the everything. The only thing I don't do is a big part of it. Because like this show sounds the way it does. All the shit that's messed up and messy is edited by my amazing friend Andy Mendoza. I couldn't do it all, guys. There's no way. Like I said, I'm a full-time nurse. I have 4 kids, a husband that I adore, and obviously I have other things going on. And so I couldn't do this all without help. And so I thank my ambassadors. I thank them so much for helping me share the word of this podcast. Guys, if you're interested in being an ambassador, again, this is a non-paying position because this podcast doesn't make any money. If you're wondering, or if you're not, that's cool. Like, I'm not, but like, it's an unpaid position. But if you would like to help support the Space Between podcasts by just sharing it, that's all I'm asking. We can't grow if we don't share, and I need more fan stories. And so if you're interested, you can email me at kissonthelipsmeyer@gmail.com. But Andy, thank you so much for standing next to me, if you will, across our digital platforms and editing the shit out of all the things that I say, because I know that I must be two things. I must be really awful to have to listen to, and all the shit that I tell you and that you have to edit out. But then also it must be amazing, Andy, to, I guess, I don't know. You get to work with me. I'm so full of shit, guys. So full of shit, but it wouldn't be fun if I wasn't. So guys, thank you so much for listening to this episode. Stay tuned. Every Friday, there's a new fan story. Minus this week, right? Minus this week. Guys, I wish you all of the love, happiness, peace that surpasses all understanding, and love in the new year. 2024 will be a better year. I am putting it out there. I believe in speaking it into existence. And so I believe that 2024 will be amazing. I know it's not going to be amazing as 2023 was for me, traveling wise. My employer doesn't want me to travel. Imagine that. It's crazy. So, but 2024 is still going to be amazing. I will see you guys in Vegas. That's our first stop in 2024. So, and then we'll see what happens along the ways. But guys, I love you. Thank you so much for listening to this. Thank you for supporting me and loving me. Guys, continue to love on others. The world always needs more love. So this is Renae signing off for the year. Peace, love, and Dave Matthews Band.